Welcome to the 1,000 Nights and 1 Night. Now, when it was the 449th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the damsel defeated the Koranist, and took off his clothes, and sent him away confused, then came forward the skilled physician, and said to her, We are free of theology. Come now to physiology. Tell me, therefore, how is man made? How many veins, bones, and vertebrae are there in his body? Which is the first and chief vein, and why Adam was named Adam? She replied, Adam was called Adam because of his udma, that is, the wheaten color of his complexion, and also, it is said, because he was created of the admin of the earth, that is to say, of the surface soil. His breast was made of the earth, of the Kaaba, his head of earth from the east, and his legs of earth from the west. There were created for him 7 doors in his head, in other words, the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, and the mouth, and 2 passages before and behind. The eyes were made the seat of the sight sense, the ears the seat of the hearing sense, the nostrils the seat of the smell sense, the mouth the seat of the taste sense, and the tongue to utter what it is in the heart of man. Now Adam was made of a compound of the 4 elements, which be water, earth, fire, and air. The yellow bile is the humor of fire, being hot, dry. The black bile, that of earth, being cold, dry. The phlegm, that of water, being cold, moist. And the blood, that of air, being hot, moist. There were made in man 360 veins, 249 bones, and 3 souls or spirits, the animal, the rational, and the natural, to each of which is allotted its proper function. Moreover, Allah made him a heart, and spleen, and lungs, and 6 intestines, and a liver, and 2 kidneys, and buttocks, and brain, and bones, and skin, and 5 senses, hearing, seeing, smell, taste, touch. The heart he set on the left side of the breast, and made the stomach the guide and governor thereof. He pointed the lungs for a fan to the heart, and stabilized the liver on the right side opposite thereto. Moreover, he made besides this the diaphragm and the viscera, and set up the bones of the breast, and latticed them with the ribs. How many ventricles are there in a man's head? 3. Which contain 5 faculties styled the intrinsic senses, to wit, common sense, imagination, and thinking faculty, perception, and memory. Describe to me the configuration of the bones. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 450th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the physician said to her, Describe to me the configuration of the bones, she replied, Man's frame consists of 240 bones, which are divided in 3 parts, the head, the trunk, and the extremities. The head is divided into calvarium and face. The skull is constructed of 8 bones, and to it are attached the 4 osselets of the ear. The face is furnished with an upper jaw of 11 bones and a lower jaw of 1, and to these are added the teeth, 22 in number, and the os hyoids. The trunk is divided into spinal column, breast, and basin. The spinal column is made up of 24 bones called fiqar, or vertebrae, the breast of the breastbone, and the ribs, which are 24 in number, 12 on each side, and the basin of the hips, the sacrum, and the os coccygeus. The extremities are divided into upper and lower arms and legs. The arms are again divided firstly into shoulder, comprising shoulder blades and collarbone, secondly into the upper arm, which is 1 bone, thirdly into forearm, composed of 2 bones, the radius and the ulna, and fourthly into the hand, consisting of the wrist, the metacarpus of 5, and the fingers, which number 5, of 3 bones each, called the phalanges, except the thumb, which hath but 2. The lower extremities are divided firstly into thigh, which is one bone, secondly into leg, composed of three bones, the tibia, the fibia, and the patella, and thirdly into the foot, divided like the hand into tarsus, metatarsus, and toes, and is composed of 7 bones ranged in 2 rows, 2 in one and 5 in the other. And the metatarsus is composed of 5 bones, and the toes number 5, each of 3 phalanges, except the big toe, which hath only 2. Which is the root of the veins? The aorta, from which they ramify, and they are many. None knoweth the tale of them save he who created them. But I repeat, it is said that they number 360. Moreover, Allah hath appointed the tongue as interpreter for the thought, the eyes to serve as lanterns, the nostrils to smell with, and the hands for prehensors. The liver is the seat of pity, the spleen of laughter, and the kidneys of craft. The lungs are ventilators, the stomach and the storehouse, and the heart the prop and the pillar of the body. When the heart is sound, the whole body is sound, and when the heart is corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. What are the outward signs and symptoms evidencing disease in the members of the body, both external and internal? A physician, who is a man of understanding, looketh into the state of the body, and guideth by the feel of the hands, according as they are, firm or flabby, hot or cool, moist or dry. Internal disorders are also indicated by external symptoms, such as yellowness of the white of the eye, which denoteth jaundice, and bending of the back, which denoteth disease of the lungs. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 451st night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the damsel had described to the doctor the outer signs and symptoms, quoth he, Thou hast replied aright. Now, what are the internal symptoms of disease? The science of the diagnosis of disease by internal symptoms is founded upon 6 canons. 1. The patient's actions. 2. What is evacuated from his body. 3. The nature of the pain. And 4. The site thereof. 5. Swelling. And 6. The ingestion of food upon food before the first be digested, and by fullness upon fullness, that it is not wasted peoples. He who would not live long, let be early with the morning meal, and not late with the evening meal. Let him be sparing of commerce and women, and chary of such depilatory measures as cupping and bloodletting, and let him make of his belly 3 parts, 1 for food, 1 for drink, and the 3rd for air. For a man's intestines are 18 spans in length, and it befitteth that he appoint 6 for meat, 6 for drink, and 6 for breath. If he walk, let him go gently, and he will be wholesomer for him, and better for his body, and more in accordance with the saying of Almighty, Walk not proudly on the earth. What are the symptoms of yellow bile, and what is to be feared therefrom? The symptoms are sallow complexion and bitter taste in the mouth with dryness, failure of the appetite, venereal and other and rapid pulse, and the patient hath to fear high fever and delirium, and eruptions and jaundice and tumor and ulcers of the bowels, and excessive thirst. What are the symptoms of black bile, and what hath the patient to fear from it, as into the getting mastery of the body? The symptoms are false appetite, and great mental disquiet, and cark and care, and it behoveth that he be evacuated, else it will generate melancholia, and leprosy, and cancer, and disease of the spleen, and the ulceration of the bowels. Into how many branches is the art of medicine divided? Into 2. the art of diagnosing disease, and that of restoring the diseased body to health. When is the drinking of medicine more efficacious than other when? When the sap runs in the wood, and the grape thickens in the clusters, and the two auspicious planets, Jupiter and Venus, are in the ascendant, then setteth in the proper season for drinking of dregs and doing away of disease. What time is it when, if a man drink water from a new vessel, the drink is sweeter and lighter or more digestible to him than at any other time, and there ascendeth to him a pleasant fragrance and a penetrating? When he waiteth a while after eating, as quoth the pope. Drink not upon thy food in haste, but wait a while, else thou with halter shalt thy frame to sickness lead. And patient bear a little thirst from food, then drink, and thus, O brother, happily thou shalt win thy need. What food is it that giveth not rise to ailments? That which is not eaten, but after hunger, and when it is eaten, the ribs are not filled with it, even as saith Jalinus or Galen the physician. Whoso will take in food, let him go slowly, and he shall not go wrongly. And to conclude with his saying, on whom be blessing and peace. The stomach is the house of disease, and diet is the head of healing, for the origin of all sickness is indigestion, that is to say, corruption of the meat. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 452nd night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the damsel said to the doctor, The stomach is the house of disease, and diet is the head of healing, for the origin of all sickness is indigestion, that is to say, corruption of the meat in the stomach, he rejoiced. Thou hast replied aright. What sayest thou of the Hammon? Let not the full man enter it. Quoth the prophet, The bath is the blessing of the house, for that it cleanseth the body, and calleth to mind the fire. What Hammons are best for bathing in? Those whose waters are sweet, and whose space is ample, which are kept well aired, their atmosphere representing the 4 seasons, autumn and summer and winter and spring. What kind of food is the most profitable? That which women make, and which hath not cost overmuch trouble, and which is readily digested. The most excellent of food is brewis, or bread, sopped in broth, according to the saying of the prophet. Brewis excelleth over food, even as Aisha excelleth other women. What kind of kitchen or seasoning is most profitable? Flesh meat, quoth the prophet, is the most excellent of kitchen, for that it is the delight of this world and the next world. But what kind of meat is the most profitable? Mutton. But jerked meat is to be avoided, for there is no profit in it. What of fruits? Eat them in their prime, and quit them when their season is past. Well, what sayest thou of drinking water? Drink it not in large quantities, nor swallow it by gulps, or it will give thee a headache, and cause divers kinds of harm. Neither drink it immediately after leaving the Hammon, nor after carnal copulation, or eating, except it be after the lapse of 15 minutes for a young man, and 40 for an old man, nor after waking from sleep. What of drinking fermented liquors? Doth not the prohibition suffice thee in the book of the Almighty? Allah, where he saith, Verily, wine, and lots, and images, and the divining arrows are an abomination of Satan's work. Therefore avoid them, that ye may prosper. And again, they will ask thee concerning wine and lots. Answer, in both there is great sin, and also some things of use unto men, but their sinfulness is greater than their use. Hence quoth the poet, O bibber of liquor, art not ashamed to drink what Allah forbade thee drain? But it far from thee, and approach it not, it holds what Allah forbade as bane. And quoth another to the same purport, I drank the sin till my reason fled. I'll drink that reason to loss misled. As for the advantages that be therein, it disperseth stone and gravel from the kidneys, and strengtheneth the viscera, and banisheth care, and moveth to generosity, and preserveth health and indigestion. It conserveth the body, expelled disease from the joints, purifieth the frame of corrupt humours, engendered cheerfulness, gladdeneth the heart of man, and keepeth up the natural heat. It contracteth the bladder, enforceth the liver, and removeth obstructions, reddeneth the cheeks, cleareth away maggots from the brain, and deferreth grey hairs. In short, had not Allah, to whom be honour and glory, forbidden it, there were not on the face of the earth aught fit to stand in its stead. As for gambling by lots, it is the game of hazard, such as dicing, not of skill. What wine is best? That which is pressed from white grapes, and kept 80 days or more after fermentation. It resembleth not water, indeed there is nothing on the surface of the earth like unto it. Well, what sayest thou of cupping? It is for him who is over full of blood, and who hath no defect therein, and whoso would be cupped, let it be during the wane of the moon, on a day without cloud, wind, or rain, and on the 17th of the month. If it fall on a Tuesday, it will be the most efficacious, and none is more salutary for the brain and the eyes, and for the clearing of the intellect, than cupping. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 453rd night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the damsel enumerated the benefits of cupping, quoth the doctor, What is the best time for cupping? One should be cupped on the spittle, that is, in the morning before eating, for this fortifieth the wit and the memory. It is reported of the Prophet that when anyone complained to him of a pain in the head or legs, he would bid them be cupped, and after cupping not eat salted food, fasting, for it engendered scurvy, neither eat sour things such as curdled milk immediately after cupping. When is cupping to be avoided? On Sabbaths, or Saturdays and Wednesdays, and let him who is cupped on these days blame none but himself. Moreover, one should not be cupped in very hot weather, nor in very cold weather, and the best season for cupping is springtide. Quoth the doctor, Now tell me of carnal copulation. Hereupon Tawaddud hung her head for shame and confusion before the Caliph's majesty, then said, By Allah, O Commander of the Faithful, it is not that I am at fault, but that I am ashamed, though indeed the answer is on the edge of my tongue. Said the Caliph, Speak, O damsel. Whereupon said she, Copulation hath in many and exceeding virtues and praiseworthy qualities, amongst which is that it lighteneth a body full of black bile, and calmeth the heat of love, and induceth affection, and dilateth the heart, and dispelleth the sadness of solitude, and the excess of it is more harmful in summer and autumn than in spring and in winter. What are its good effects? It banisheth trouble, and disquiet calmeth love and wrath, and is good for ulcers, especially in a cold and dry humour. On the other hand, excess of it weakeneth the sight, and engendereth pain in the legs and head and back. Beware of carnal connection with old women, for they are deadly. Quoth the eminent Ali, whose face Allah honour. 4 things kill and ruin the body: entering the hammam on a full stomach, eating salted food, copulation on a plethora of blood, and lying with an ailing woman, for she will weaken thy strength and infect thy frame with sickness, and an old woman is deadly poison. And quoth one of them, Beware of taking an old woman to wife, though she be richer in hoards than Qarun. What is the best copulation? If the woman be tender of years, comely of shape, fair of face, swelling of breast, and noble race, she will add to thee strength and health of body, and let her be even as saith a poet describing her. Seeing thy looks wots she would thou desirest, by inspirations wants nor words nor sign, and when thou dost behold her rare grace, the charms of every garden canst decline. At what time is copulation good? If by night, after food digested, and if by day, after the morning meal. What are the most excellent fruits? Pomegranate and citron. Which is the most excellent of vegetables? Endive. Which of the sweet-scented flowers? Rose and violet. How is the seed of man secreted? There is in man a vein which feedeth all the other veins. Now water is collected from the 360 veins, and in the form of red blood entereth the left testicle, where it is decotted by the heat of temperament inherent in the son of Adam, and into a thick white liquid, whose odor is that of a palm spathe. What flying thing is it that emitteth seed and menstruateth? The flittermouse, that is the bat. What is that which, when confined and shut out of the air, liveth, and when let out to smell the air, dieth? Fish. What serpent layeth eggs? The suban, or dragon. With this the physician waxed weary with much questioning, and held his peace with Tawaddud, said to the Caliph, O Commander of the Faithful, he hath questioned me till he is tired out, and now I will ask him one question, which if he answer not, I will take his clothes as lawful prize. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 454th night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious King, that when the damsel said to the Commander of the Faithful, Verily, he hath questioned me till he is tired out, and now I will ask him one question, which if he answer not, I will take his clothes as lawful prize. The Caliph cried, Ask on. So quoth she to the physician, What is that thing which resembleth the earth in roundness, whose resting place and whose spine are hidden from man's eyes, little of price and estimation, narrow of chest and shackled as to throat, though it be no runaway slave nor pestilent thief, thrust through and through, though not in fray, and wounded, though not in fight. Time eateth its vigor, and water wasteth it away. Now it is beaten without blemish, and then made to serve without stint, united after separation, submissive but not to him who caresseth it, pregnant without child and belly, drooping, yet not leaning on its side, becoming dirty, yet purifying itself, cleaving to its fare, yet changing, copulating without a yard, wrestling without arms, resting and taking its ease, bitten, yet not crying out, no more complacent than a cup companion, and more troublesome than summer heat, leaving its mate by night, and embracing her by day, and having its abode in the corners of the mansions of the noble. The physician was silent a while in perplexity, and his color changed, and he bowed his head and made no reply, whereupon she said to him, Ho, Sir Doctor, speak, or doff thy dress. At this he arose and said, O Commander of the Faithful, bear witness against me that this damsel is more learned than I in medicine and what else, and that I cannot cope with her. And he put off his clothes, and he fled forth. Quoth the Caliph to Tawaddud, Read us thy riddle. And she replied, O Commander of the Faithful, it is the button and the button loop. Then she undertook the astronomers, and said, Let him of you who is an astronomer rise and come forth. So the astronomer advanced and sat down before her, and when she saw him, she laughed and said, Art thou the astronomer, the mathematician, the scribe? Yes, answered he. Quoth she, Ask of what thou wilt. Success resteth with Allah. So he said, Tell me of the sun and its rising and setting. And she replied, Know that the sun rises from the shadows in the eastern hemisphere, and setteth in the shadows of the western, and each hemisphere comprises 180 degrees. Quoth Allah Almighty, I swear by the Lord of the east and of the west. And again, He it is who hath ordained the sun to shine by day, and the moon for light by night, and hath appointed her station that she might know the number of years and the computation of time. The moon is sultan of the night, and the sun sultan of the day, and they vie with each other in their course, and follow without overtaking each other. Quoth Almighty Allah, It is not expedient that the sun overtaketh the moon in her course, neither doth the night outstrip the day, but each of these luminaries moveth in a peculiar orbit. When the day cometh, what becometh of the night? And what of the day, and what the night cometh? He causeth the night to enter in upon the day, and he causeth the day to enter in upon the night. Enumerate to me the mansions of the moon. They number 28, to wit, Shartan, Bhutan, Surah, Darbran, Hakka, Hanya, Zira, Nasraf, Tarf, Jabha, Zubra, Sarfa, Awa, Simak, Gafar, Zubani, Iklil, Kalb, Salya, Naam, Balda, Sa'ad al-Zabiyah, Sa'ad al-Bula, Sa'ad al-Suad, Sa'ad al-Akbiyah, Farg the former, and Farg the latter, and Risha. They are disposed in the order of the letters of the Ajad Hawaz, or older alphabet, according to their numerical power, and in them are secret virtues which none knoweth save Allah, extolled and exalted be He, and established in science. They are divided among the 12 signs of the zodiac, 2 mansions and a third of the mansion to each side. Thus Shartan and Bhutan and 1/3 of Surah belong to Aries, and the other 2/3 of Surah Darban, and the 2/3 of Hakka to Taurus, the other third to Hakka, Hana, and Zira to Gemini. Nasra, Tarf, and a third of Jabha to Cancer, and the other 2/3 of Jabba, Zubra, and the 2/3 of Sarfa to Leo, and the other third of Safa, Awa, and Semak to Virgo. Gafar, Zubani, and the other third of Iklil to Libra. The other 2/3 of Ikil, Kabul, and 2/3 of Shala to Scorpio. The other third of Shala, and Na'im, and Balda to Sagittarius. Sa'ad al-Zabli, Sa'ad al-Bula, and 1/3 of Sa'ad al-Suhud to Capricorn. The other 2/3 of Sa'ad al-Suhud, Sa'ad al-Akpai, and 2/3 of Farg the former to Aquarius, and the other third of Farg the former, Farg the latter, and Risha to Pisces. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. And so do I cease my tales for today, till it be morrow.